Mark Kruger has a look over his shoulder. A little further back, our fourth place bike. Battle's going on. Darrell getting buffed up a little bit, knocked a little bit further back.
For Kramer.
So Mark Kruger at 121.3 on that lap. Just to throw in a couple of random ones. Addison on a 124, a little further up front. We got Marshall on a 121 and George Phillips on a 122. The beauty of live timing again is we can let you guys know what these guys are doing. So Marshall and pass, but George Phillips has a little look at Kramer when he goes by as if to say, oh yeah, as he flicks up his FZR 400 to drive around Mark on the front straight. But watch Kruger get it back on the brake, and he's got his leg out, a la Valentino Rossi, steadying the bike under brake and utilizing all the real estate he can get on track. Mark Kruger using all the track he can get, catches right up on Phillips' back tire and the entrance of two, around the outside on the gas and pin right out to the air fence. George Phillips, though, got a little bit more motor on that little Kawasaki. So Kruger got to wind it up again and get it all back under braking. Phillips this time laying off the brakes a little bit more. Kruger though at the exit of 3, right up on the outside of Phillips. Can't get it to stick, so at the kink on the backside of the track. Phillips with a little bit more motor again leads the charge down to the turn number 4. Kruger again using all the track and more, tries to go up the inside and fire, it doesn't! Punches George Phillips out of the way to take over a second. 750, 250, 400, 250. Right now that's our top 4 running order displacement-wise. Marshall, nice and tidy, looking strong down through the turn 1 section. Mark Kruger again, watch this little bike. You can see him drift the front and rear end of this bike as he carries all the corner speed that you can muster, almost riding those little GP tires right up onto the rims as he's now dispatched George Phillips, and it's all corner speed. Watch Kruger into 3. All you're going to see is a blur. He's up on that back tire and gone. So Mark Kruger, there's a lesson for all of us racers and fans that like to watch. You stand that bike up, get it on the meat of the tire, wick it up. Kruger again, utilizing all the track he possibly can, brings back Marshall to the tune of probably at least a second between turn number 2 and turn number 5 as Mark Kruger continues his run to the front. Bike off, bike off, bike off. We got a bike off into the grass. Like it's got it, but a nice save. Again, that is not a place you want to be, in the grass on the outside of turn number 4. So our rider, good deployment. Meanwhile, up front, Mark Kruger, right up on the back wheel of Marshall through the 789 combination of Marshall, licking up that old school GSXR 750, and Mark Kruger again has got to do it all under again. Look at Mark as late as he possibly can on the brake, almost dragging the handlebars of that bike down through the turn 1 section, down the short chute down to turn number 2. Kruger taking a tight inside line, standing that bike up, trying to get all the corner speed we can. So once again, Kruger deep into the 121 to 121.385 on that lap, running the same pace as that GSXR 750 in front of. Okay, so Kruger with at least a couple of tenths in his purse, that didn't sound right, in his back pocket as he's trying to run down Steve Marshall. Sorry, that's my mistake. Management can't be held responsible for that one. Halfway flags out. Marshall visibly slowing into turn number 5 there. Don't know if he had an incident on the entrance there, but Mark Kruger says, I do. So look at this, Kruger in the lead and Marshall walks around him, just like BC Transit leaving you at your bus stop. That's exactly what Marshall did to Mark Kruger on that pass. So Kruger winds up and says, I gotta do it all again. George Phillips holding down 3rd place at this point. Marshall, Kruger wants to go up the inside, can't get close enough to make it stick. Marshall again on the gas. Mark Kruger right there, taking all the real estate he can out of 2, trying to get around him, can't get it done. They go around a slower rider. Mark Kruger, Ninja 250, trying to reel in that GSXR 750. And Steve Marshall, you know that time, he heard that little Ninja buzzing bee behind him on the gas early. A little bit better drive this time for Marshall going to the 4. Kruger again, look at how deep and how fast he goes out of 4. Off the inside of 5 again, pushing Marshall to the outside. Kruger making it stick, doing things with a Ninja 250 that the dynamics of physics do not allow him to do. And once again, all Marshall has to do is whip the throttle up of that GSXR 750 to close up some of the daylight. But this time, Kruger says, He tries to put some daylight between himself and our second place GSXR mounted rider. And Marshall again, watch this. Steve Marshall closing the gap at 140 miles an hour or 110 mile an hour Ninja. Kruger up the inside, look at the pass as he straightens the bike up. Dive bombs into turn number 1. Marshall has got no answer for that because you do not expect another rider to do that on a Ninja 250. George Bill is holding down third place. We still got some great racing taking place a little bit further on in the field. As our Formula Classic guys with a great battle going on amongst themselves. Rainer Lang, Sean Durrell, George Billis, Alex Dimitro. Our Formula Classic class is having a grand old time out there. It's just they're somewhat dwarfed by the battle up front with the incomparable Mark Kruger doing things on a bike that you cannot do. So now, Marshall, trying to close it up under throttle, gets a little bit of a sniff down at the turn 5. Kruger has got the daylight he needs. Now it will be management for Mark Kruger. Let him know, you guys, how much you're enjoying this. Get those hands in the air. Those guys can see you coming into turn 2. Mark Kruger again around the outside of a lapped rider. Those tires, when he brings that bike in, they won't just be to the cords. He'll be riding that bike on the rims. Again, we'll be going into bike pickup after this. That is if I remain standing long enough to finish calling this race. I haven't drawn a breath in 6 minutes as Mark Kruger putting on a show like we haven't seen. Hands in the air and will him on as he has put on a show, and Steve Marshall has got to be wondering, how about that? Mark Kruger, a 120.343. Wow, that's all you can say. Mark Kruger, unbelievable race, not to overshadow any of our other riders, especially our Formula Classic battle taking place. But Mark Kruger putting on a clinic out there on bike number 144. Steve Marshall had no answer. Our GSXR 750 mounted rider could not maintain the pace. Mark Kruger, his entry and exit speeds on that little Ninja 250, I'm sure will not be matched for quite a while. As he has put a clinic on, as all of our riders now have been invited to take the white flag. So next time by, Mark Kruger having thrown down a 120.343